Welcome to a special segment of Irish Exit where I talk about a certain topic for a few minutes and you can listen or you can feck off. I'm your host Mitch and today's topic is mental health. So long story short, I've had huge anxiety for large parts of my life, and I still remember the first day where I got a feeling of proper anxiety. About 15, 16, when I got into transition year in school, I bottled that up for a good 2 years probably. I'd be in total panic, could barely sleep, I wouldn't be able to eat. Bizarrely, my main concern then became, how do I cover this up to make sure that nobody knows that there's something wrong with me. You know, eventually I started coming out in rashes. Sure, I was just totally messed up. And I remember even there was a girl I was seeing, and then I'd have to text her and be like, here, I'll talk to you in like 2 weeks, because I couldn't, my anxiety was so bad that I couldn't communicate with them, like, or with anybody. And so then it comes to 6th year around, and I just knew that day, and I was nearly kind of crying in there, and I said, that day when I go home, I'm going to tell my mother. And I just sat down to mum and I just started crying and crying and crying, and I have anxiety and it's eating me up and etc. I remember a huge lift that evening, and people say talk to someone, talk about mental health. Talk to someone you trust, in terms of talk to someone who knows what they're talking about. I went to a certain person that was unsuitable for the type of issues that I had, and when I had a mental breakdown at Christmas. So whatever happened, I totally lost my mind. I couldn't handle it. I was so unwell that depending on how long that went on, you know, anything could have happened, you know. But thankfully it didn't go on that long. We went somewhere else now, but it was a better style counselling, therapy, a chat. I could feel the release of emotion, and maybe like even one day or 2 days in there at the counselling. But that 12 sessions with the therapist was the best thing that I ever did. You know, it took me a long while after to admit to people that I went to counselling. I got to college about 9 months after that. There was a bereavement in terms of one of our friends passed away. At 18, I didn't know how to deal with death, so I shoved that down. I went through CBT therapy, which is cognitive behaviour therapy. And it took me a long time to recover from COVID. Came back from COVID, struggling so bad, so I went back to therapy. Same place. My mental health's been strong in the last few years, probably because I'm getting older. I'm 25 now. I focus on enjoying things with my friends. I can talk to my friends. I'm talking to you right now about mental health. Like, you know, this would never happen as a 17 and 18, 19-year-old. My tips to people would be nice to yourself, be compassionate with yourself, talk to people you care about, go to therapy. So thoughts, feelings and action was something where I go to my journal at the time, or I go to a book and I write down thoughts like, what are you thinking? Like, okay, how are you feeling, and what are you going to do about it, or what have you done because of it? That gets jumbled in your brain, but if you write that down in 4 different things, then you're getting somewhere. Meditate a little bit. I was never really good, but meditate a little bit. Exercising, massive. Sweat, endorphins. Sleep. Stay away from the alcohol. People laugh at me. One of my favourite quotes, an Oscar Wilde quote. It says, to love oneself is the beginning of a lifelong romance, and that's a fact. Like, just look after yourselves and be kind to yourselves and grow more. So, ciao. That's it.